offline.
Much like the decks we're going to talk about today, my bipolar depression is unpredictable. So place your FanDuel bets on whether or not we're going to get a sad boy, I don't feel like editing type vibe, or we're going to get a here's a billion new thumbnails and video ideas, I am the best Magic creator ever type vibe. We're going to take a look at some commanders that feel different every time you play them, and in a world full of tutors, insane card draw, efficient deck building, game plans, having a deck that has variety from game to game is a needed tool in any commander player's tool belt. So make sure to subscribe, use my TCG Player affiliate link if you plan on ordering any cards anytime soon, and let's get into it. I feel like the best way to do this is just to separate it into themes and then talk about commanders in those themes. So we're going to start things off with Toolbox decks, because I feel like they're one of the best ways to get variety in your games. Toolbox commanders. These commanders are built to be responsive to a question on the table. How are we going to deal with this opponent's board state? Toolbox deck has the answer. How do we draw more cards this turn? Toolbox deck will find a way. Ironically, the Toolbox deck takes card choices that normally would lend themselves to a very same formulaic game plan for most games, like tutoring effects, and turns them into a way to have different feeling games game to game. Good example of this would be Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. This Naya commander has X in its mana cost to tutor up a creature from your deck into play, so add 3 mana to any creature in your deck, and that's now on the field. Let's say one game you need a little bit more of a board state, you could search for something like Deep Forest Hermit to get a board state in a bottle, or maybe another game you need to keep the aggressive deck at bay, maybe you search up something like Nils to stop threats from swinging at you easily. Each game with this type of deck plays different game to game, as not only does it have efficient ways to look for tools, but tools are very dependent on the job. So, good way to get variety. Couple other Toolbox commander suggestions. We got Captain Sisay, which has the same idea, except replace any creature with legendary creatures. And Momir Vig has the pretty much same idea, except it focuses on Simic creatures. So when you play a green creature, tutor up a creature, put it on top of your deck. When you play a blue creature, look at your top card. If it's a creature, put it into your hand. If you play a blue-green creature, you get to do both, so it's just a tutor for another creature. All of these, great ways to get tools out of your tool belt to handle different situations. That's what I love about Toolbox decks. They are literally not there for a game plan. They're there to have all their bases covered, and that's pretty neat. Now moving on to Daddy's specific wheelhouse, Reanimator decks. Think of Reanimator decks like Toolbox decks, except instead of using the library, they use the graveyard, and instead of using tools, they're using giant terrifying creatures we can cheat into play super early to bash our opponent's face in, or in some cases, non-creature spells. I'll get into that. These decks mill plenty of cards into the graveyard, specifically large creature threats, and uses spells that can return creatures from our graveyard into play. These decks are different every game because you don't know what you're going to be milling into, and it's fun. It's like a mystery box every time I play a mill card. I'm like, Grizzly Salvage? We hit big, boys, we hit big. Naturally, I'm going to use my Taval deck as an example here. So in the instance of my Taval deck, Taval can mill cards from my deck along with cards like Perpetual Timepiece to hit any combination of multiple creatures I could put into play with cards like Animate Dead. Let's say one game I hit a Colossal Grave Reaver. Looks like that game we're going balls to the wall, reanimate as much stuff as we possibly can. I mill into a Valgavoth. Yeah, looks like we're milling opponents as much as we can. Or we hit a Sir Conrad. Looks like we're milling everybody as much as we can. And then looking for that Timepiece to shuffle my graveyard back in and do a ton of damage with Conrad. This deck's my favorite deck I've ever built for a reason. It is incredibly fun to pilot. I actually took out Beseech the Mirror and one of the pieces to the Infinite Combo, the Endless Torture or Torment or whatever it's called, because I like the variety of this deck so much. Some other good Reanimator commanders would be Old Stick Fingers. This is an X, a black, and a green, and it mills until you hit X creatures and then puts all those creatures into the grave, so providing guaranteed targets. So this is like the ultimate mystery box commander. Or you've got some more niche cases like Kess Dissident Mage, which lets you cast instants and sorceries out of your graveyard, so you could go for like a self-mill spell reanimation deck, which is actually pretty cool. Thought I'd mention it. Moving on to Cascade and Discover. These mechanics are literally based around unpredictability, looking at cards off top until you hit something that cost equal or less than, and then putting it into play or into your hand in the case of Discover. Yeah, that deck's gonna play differently every game. Now proceed with caution, as these decks are just inherently oppressive at lower power tables. So if you make a Cascade commander and your pod normally doesn't have like the best card selections, they're more low powered, you're playing it for more casual, you're gonna find that Cascade and Discover is very powerful, because who would have guessed it? Getting buy one, get ones on your spells? Yeah. Great example of this, Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. This non-white commander gives our spells we cast Cascade as long as we've dealt combat damage with it this turn to a player. So we attack someone with our Maelstrom, and then we cast a Treasure Cruise, and then we Cascade into a Mind's Desire and get 3 more spells off the Mind's Desire Storm trigger. That's one unpredictable ass play. Even something as simple as connecting with your Maelstrom, smacking one of your opponents with it, playing a Chaos Warp to get rid of one of your opponent's creatures, and then cascading into a Lightning Greaves to throw on your Maelstrom. That even seems like a quote-unquote bad Maelstrom hit. It's not at all. You're literally getting protection from your Maelstrom, removal for that thing, and you just smack someone for 5. And in the case of Discover, we've got Potlaza, who turns all of our dinosaurs into a Discover trigger, which same thing as Cascade, except equal or less, and it can go into your hand if you want it to, so definitely better than Cascade. And again, if you're not building the deck around like scrying and setting the top of your deck so you can get the most primo Cascades so you can fire off on your exact game plan, Cascade and Discover decks, incredibly good at adding a little versatility to your games. Great choice. Let's talk about everyone's favorite type of deck, stealing decks. I'm not going to call it theft. You piece of shit. Oh, you built a theft deck? Oh, you mean you built a stealing deck? Oh, you mean you're gonna steal from us? These are going to be very good at making every game feel different because this deck is inherently based off what's your opponent running? What are you running? Because that's what I'm running now. A great example is a Tali Primal Storm. When this thing swings, you get an exile off the top of everyone's deck, and then you get to cast those for free. So random times 4, you feel way better. You know what I mean? You have a way better chance to hit like a couple of little elves, but then get some big old boys in there. You never know. Or you could run something like Xanthar, Guild Kingpin, who exiles the top of opponents' libraries and then lets you cast them. This is like a more fair version of Send Triplets, much like Cascade and Discover. There's a fine line between like, I'm doing this so I can have versatile gameplay and have different games of Commander, and I'm doing this to make everyone have a bad time. These are especially good if you find yourself not really having a locked-in play group and you play with a lot of different people, or your play group has a lot of different decks, because you'll be playing a bunch of different strategies if you're playing Theft. Always good. Let's get into the sick, twisted psyche of Chaos deck players. Derek. These type of decks don't ask the question, how can every game I play be different? These decks ask, how can every game everybody plays with me be a crazy ass game of Magic? Now, weirdly enough, these ideas are less Commander focused and more card choice focused. So card choice is like Knowledge Pool, which forces people to play different spells instead of the one that they fucking wanted to play. So now by the time they're able to play the spell they wanted to play, they don't have the interaction in board. Thank you. Or cards like Share the Spoils, which has everyone exiling the top card of their library into a sort of community card pool that anyone can cast from, but when someone does cast from it, the person who cast has to exile a card off their deck and add it back to the card pool to like replace it. I want a red deck just for this. I really like this. Blue Braids. Everybody start cheating stuff into play. Everybody cheat shit into play. I don't care. Chaos is a great way to force variety on everybody. So gotta love those communist Chaos players. They're too fun. And then of course you've got inherently random commanders. These are commanders that the Wizards design team designed that way. The whole point of them is to have different games, game to game. You've got commanders like Atla Palani Nest Tender, which is very funny because I was trying to find this card, and sometimes when I don't feel like going to Scryfall and then typing in a card, I'll just type it into Google and then expect it to come up on Scryfall. I type in Atla MTG, and it came up with Avatar The Last Airbender MTG. Thought that was funny. Atla, however, makes us egg tokens that are 0/2s, and then when those egg tokens crack or die, we get to reveal cards off the top of our deck until we hit a creature and then put that creature into play. So we have little eggs that are our creatures in our deck, and they hatch. That's pretty cool. One that I've been trying to make work forever is Rona, Herald of Invasion, because she flips into a 5/5 that whenever she's dealt damage, the owner of that damage exiles a card out of their hand at random, and we get to cast it for free. This actually does apply to us, so if you have a way to like ping Rona, we could exile a card out of our own hand and play it for free at random. This is a strange one. I've wanted this deck to work so bad. I have it sitting in my binder. I've tried building it like halfway. Yorsum knows all about this. I've tried building it like halfway, 100 times, never gets finished. So if you have suggestions, let me know. But again, her ability to exile at random from someone's hand and then cast it, yeah, games are going to be different. Not only are you doing the random thing, if it's with yourself, you're also doing the theft thing. You're playing other people's strategies. One that I really like is Tyrael, Reckoner of Souls, being a giant angel that taps to recur something from our graveyard at random. Actually, this is my formal request. Wizards, design team, make another card. I don't even need it to be special or anything unique or added. It could be the exact same thing as Tyrael. Just make it cost 4, please. Like if we can have Taval, I think we could have a tap this commander to recur something at random on a card that cost 4. I really don't think that's that big of a deal. I'd run the shit out of it, and I'd have more content. What do you get out of it? You get what's ever inside this Pokeball. Deal, Wizards? You got ibuprofen PM! So yeah, if you needed more variety in your commander games, consider going one of these strategies, maybe one of these commanders. And if you have any more commander suggestions for these themes that we talked about, I know there's plenty more, comment them down below and help out your fellow Lotus enjoyer. If you'd like to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, hit the bell if you haven't already, that'd be great. If you want to show some additional support, you can become a YouTube member or Patreon patron. Starts as low as $1. You gain access to the weekly Friday night deck reviews form where you can fill it out, send me your deck list, and then on Friday nights, we will do deck reviews and we will get to yours. And hey, I think that's worth $1. Again, it's the holiday season, so if you plan on ordering any cards anytime soon, consider using my TCG Player affiliate link so I can also buy gifts for people. That'd be great. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Go check out the other stuff if you haven't already. I'm out of here. Peace.
I said, and I listen, y'all spec. It hits that me, that's facts. I'm still coming for a play. When I hear something, it should